I'm Angela Melvin. I'm the founder and CEO of Valerie's House. We are located in Fort Myers, Florida. So it's southwest on the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it. We still call it the Gulf of Mexico, but you know what I mean. It's a wonderful area of the country. It was void of services until 2016 when we started Valerie's House. And yeah, we're going to get to more of the history of Valerie's House as well. But before that, I want to go ahead and introduce our presenters as well. Go ahead, start.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Dimitri. I am a former participant in the Valerie's House program. I grew up there after I had a loss at 14. I'm a clinical mental health counseling student, and I'm the executive assistant over at Valerie's House. Yay. Hi guys, I'm Story McDougall. I also was a participant at Valerie's House when I was 13 after my mom died. I am now a bachelor's in psychology, and I'm currently in my master's program at Edgewood for thanatology, and I am the senior coordinator of programs at Valerie's House.
Hello everyone, my name is Emily Calderon. My mom died when I was 11 years old, and I didn't start coming to Valerie's House until I was 13 years old. I am now I graduated with my bachelor's in social work this May. And now I'm an MSW student. I just started that journey. I am a program coordinator for the volunteers, and I'm super excited to be here. Thank you guys all for choosing our presentation, and hopefully we can teach you guys a little bit of what we do here at Valerie's House.
So today's objectives, and I'm going to be kind of moderating, but letting them do most of the talking. So why don't you guys come over a little bit closer? That would be, yeah. We're going to, first of all, we're going to just understand our role at Valerie's House, and we actually have a job description for our teen and young adult ambassadors. So we really look at this as like a position at Valerie's House. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and what that role is, and how to identify these current participants in your own organizations and mentor them up. How do you know which ones out of the hundreds that we may serve every month might have the potential to end up in the role that these three are in? We're going to explore all the different ways you can get your teens and families involved with your nonprofit. So these three particularly have gone into the mental health field and want to lead groups, but that's not every ambassador that you see here. That's what they're doing. They're doing lots of different things for Valerie's House. So we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about how this role as an ambassador at Valerie's House helps our families in their grief. The 6 needs of mourning, we all know from Dr. Wolfelt. So, an important part of that is finding purpose and finding meaning in your grief. And we're going to talk about how grief is forever for them, but how is giving back and paying it forward helping our participants in their grief? Not holding them back, not complicating it, but when they're ready, how it's allowing them to move forward in their grief in a different way than they ever would have been able to had they not taken this step. And then finally, we're going to give you practical ways that you can start, if you don't already have one, an ambassador program in your nonprofit. And we're going to give you our training that we give our teen and young adults, because we go through a particular training for them. We're going to give you all the tools that we have so you don't have to start from square one, okay? So a little bit about Valerie's House. Valerie was my mom. She died in 1987, and we didn't have anything back in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. By the time I moved back to town 25 years later after my mom had died, there still wasn't anything. And so we opened Valerie's House. And I started Valerie's House by coming to NACG. Kind of one symposium at a time, learning as much as I could. And now we've grown tremendously in the last decade. We were the first organization in between Miami and Tampa to offer anything at this level for peer group support. And now we have locations all the way up into the north part of Florida as well, in the Pensacola area. Yep, so more than 7,000 kids have come through our program.
So we have both a vision and a mission statement. Our vision is that no child will grieve alone. This includes all young children, this includes our young adults, our teenagers, everybody, few and far between. We want to ensure that nobody in our community is grieving alone. And our mission is to help children and families work through the loss of a loved one together and go on to live a fulfilling life. And this program is just one of the ways that Valerie's House helps children find their meaning making after they've had a loss in their lives.
So Valerie's House, we offer so many different types of services to our community, to our kids. And a lot of this is going to be things that our teen ambassadors also look up to, that they eventually wind up wanting to volunteer or work with. So some of the main services that we do, obviously at the end of the day, it comes down to our peer support groups. So we offer as young as 3 and 4-year-olds all the way up to our young adults. And then obviously the caregivers as well, who are attending with their child in the program. So that's going to be from about 3 to 27, and then the caregivers. We have our family dinners, so there's always going to be a meal that our family shares before going into their support groups. A hot meal, it takes off the stress of the day, they can decompress, they don't have to worry about feeding their children or themselves, and it's a way that they can just kind of unwind before going right into group. We have our individual counseling as well, which is a program that we have been able to fortunately grow over the years, and it is an entirely free program for all of our enrolled families, our young adults included. This is a way that they are able to have counseling services without any barriers. Counseling should not be something that is a privilege. It should be a right for anyone who needs it, and we don't ever want financial barriers in place for those families. So we do offer that for free for anyone who is in need. We have a mentorship program called our Val's Pals. So this is going to be a one-on-one kind of support from mentors who, if we have identified a child who might need that kind of older brother, older sister, caregiving kind of figure in their life, we are able to pair them up with some amazing mentors, and they go out in the community, they go on fishing trips, they go on shopping trips, movies, out to eat, all sorts of really fun, amazing things, just to give a little extra support, a little extra love and attention. We also have our school-based support, so we are in the schools as well. This last school year, we were able to lead, I believe the number is 33 school groups, which is growing, and that was just in one county as well. We are in 3 counties. I don't have the numbers for the other 2. I work in Lee County, but we have been able to get into all these different schools and help even more children that way, because one of the barriers sometimes is getting to Valerie's House. Not every caregiver is able to drive them, and they're already being taken to school, and they're already going to be there for 8 hours a day. So we are going to them. We are going to meet them where they're at, so they can still have that free support a couple times a month, so that they aren't left out either. Because again, no child deserves to grieve alone. And then it's creative expression. Everything we do, it's art, it's play, it's activities to process grief. We're doing these activities also outside of group. We're hosting special events for our families to have even more connection with Valerie's House. Around the holidays, we've had special events for families who just need a little extra support. Holidays can be rough, we know that. We also have events over the summer. We have a summer camp coming up that is now our 3rd annual one, to just give kids a little extra space to be able to continue expressing their grief and and working through their emotions, and doing that in a safe and loving environment.
So we've actually had 3 locations over there in Fort Myers. The very, very first house was in downtown Fort Myers. This is where I started my journey. It was a tiny house. We outgrew the space super fast. I remember being inside the groups and having to stand really against the wall to be able to see everybody and like really hold those conversations. I remember the first night I walked into those doors, it felt like a loving house. There was teddy bears, there was everything. It was a very welcoming space, but we quickly realized that we needed a bigger space. So that's kind of how our second location started. It was still in downtown Fort Myers. It's a beautiful house over there. We had some really special groups going. We had a lot of the community show up for us and help decorate the space. We had graffiti being done for the teens to see that. It's really cool for them to see that. It was a very loving house. Every component that we started with the very first house, we still have our memory wall. We honor the people that we have. We carry that on and we bring it over to the different locations. And then now, We just opened up our very first Fort Myers Families Forever home. This happened in 2024. It's a beautiful house, so if you guys are ever in Florida, please come over. We would love to give you guys a tour. It's a 2-story building. We have been able to provide a lot of support for families in there. We've really grown tremendously, and we are outgrowing the space right now. We are creating new offices to be able to support more counseling sessions. We recognize that that is a very special need that we have, and so we are trying to meet that need. We also have a location in Pensacola, sorry guys. This is an independent location now. They still carry our name, Valerie's House, but they run independently. They do a lot of amazing work over there. And then we have a location in Port Charlotte. This is a tiny house. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful house. We carry everything that we have, our rules, our check-in, everything is in there. And we have a location in Collier County. We share a space. We have a partnership with NAMI, and we are able to meet the need of a lot of families in that way. We understand that grief is something that is going to happen to everyone, so that's why we're able to open up different locations, and the community really supports us in that way. So yeah, that's a little bit about the locations that we have.
Some of our numbers just to see the growth, and we opened in 2016, but we only went back to 2021, but you can see by the end of 2025, we're a little over 1,500 served. Really, the young adult group has taken off, as you can see, and those off-site groups are school groups, and then you can see families and children, and then we even started a pregnancy and infant loss group. So you heard me mention at the very beginning, the 6 needs of mourning, right? Many of you know. Has anyone not heard of the 6 needs of mourning? And that's okay too. Okay, but you've heard of the stages of grief? Yeah, here and there? Okay, so the 6 needs of mourning is something that our facility and our volunteer training, we really focus a lot on. Dr. Alan Wolfeld, he's still alive, by the way. He's actually gonna come and do a presentation for our community in February. And really just kind of pioneer of how you work with people who are grieving, and instead of stages of grief that seem to be more linear and you feel like you have to go through them all, he's come up with something called the 6 needs of mourning, which as professionals in the bereavement world, we believe that if we can move through these needs, we're helping our families. And you can see acknowledging the reality of the death, embracing the pain, going towards the pain, remembering the person who died. That's why so much of what we do in peer support groups is memories for those who have them. Developing that new self-identity, search for meaning, and receiving ongoing support from others. So the last 3 we highlighted in blue because we believe by creating an ambassador program with your families is going to help them, no doubt, get into those last 2 and 3. So helping them with that new identity, which may very well be, I am now going to help someone else in my grief. And I'm going to have the self-confidence and the support to do that. And that's what the Ambassador Program is here for. So Teens Giving Back, what did we see? What were we seeing? I was constantly seeing our Valerie's House teens wanting more from Valerie's House. So they were coming to group, but then they'd often go, well, do you need help with this? Or can I come and do my homework, on another day? So although their groups were only twice a month, what we were seeing is that they wanted to be here more. This was becoming a place for them to feel alive, to feel loved, maybe even safer than their own home. So that kind of kicked it off with me. That was like, yeah, come by, And then I started thinking like, okay. Do you want to write a couple of thank you cards? Do you want to help us set up for group? And so naturally, these leaders in the peer support groups, they started emerging. And you probably know some of them already in your groups. You're already recognizing that. Of course, we noticed they were leaders in their own group, right? Those are the ones that welcome the new kids into group. They may be the first ones that are raising their hand to comment when you ask a question where it might be quiet in the other groups. So you're already seeing those leaders. They just live and breathe your nonprofit, right? And we recognize they're still healing, but they were looking for the next step in their healing. They wanted something more. All
Alrighty, you guys, we have a little activity that we're gonna do. Just want to think about your current program, where you're coming from, where home is for you, and think what qualities do you value in your current volunteers that you would like to see in your future teen leaders.
Some of you already have a few Post-its on the table, but of course, you guys do a lot with Post-its. Who does a lot with Post-its with their Grieve activities? You say a lot of Post-its. There's some of you over there too. Just take like 2 or 3 and just write down what qualities do you look for in your volunteers? Okay, what qualities would you even be looking for? Even if it wasn't a teen ambassador, maybe it was just someone in your current, community. And then when you get a chance, we're gonna put them up on this, and we're gonna have you read some of them out. So when you're ready, if you want to walk up and just stick it on this Post-it board, when you've come up with a few, we'd love to have you walk up and do that. Thank you for taking so much time too by putting this down. Interested to see what you guys think. Would you read what you wrote?
Yes, it's not going to stick the way I want it to. But I put cultural humility and vulnerability. I think considering our last presentation, the cultural humility really stuck. I'm going to put it here. Thank you.
I don't know if mine will stick either. A good listener.
Yeah.
Reliability. Compassion. Sorry, it's not sticking.
I put dedication. Those who have experienced a death loss firsthand seem the most invested.
Thank you.
I put dependable, non-judgmental, and compassionate.
Thank you for that.
Okay, I put dependable, outgoing, want to be there, and fun.
Fun, that's important.
Really want this to work.
That's not gonna. Okay.
I have willingness to play and get down with kids at their level, and understanding of grief without projecting their own loss on children.
I have creativity and innovation and take initiative.
Take initiative.
I have passion for the communities we serve, commitment to service, and lived experience.
Thank you.
Some are sticking,
I
some
love
are.
it. I put a desire to be with others, the actual availability to support, so emotional, physical, time, all of that, and then the readiness to share their grief and their story.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Story, could you read a few that we put down again? What do they say? Just a few more.
All these more.
Just read a few of them. Just to kind of...
So we have that desire to be with others, the readiness to share their grief and to share their story, understanding of grief without projecting their own loss onto another child, dependable, outgoing, want to be there, fun, compassionate, a good listener, someone who's dependable, someone who is going to be non-judgmental, someone who's going to take initiative, cultural humility and vulnerabilities, willingness to play and get down with the kids at their level, which if you can see over here, you're going to see Carter doing exactly that. Lived experience, commitment to service, passion for the community we serve. All of these are such wonderful qualities, and all of these are qualities that we are seeing in kids. Some are as young as like 8 or 9 as we start seeing these qualities emerge. And as they get to be that teen age, as they get to be 14, 15, and then 16, they're really growing into these roles and into these amazing, beautiful qualities. And they're asking, how can we do more? We want to do more. We want to be able to help. We want to be able to make a difference. And that's exactly why we're here today.
So these are some of the things that we see when we're identifying our teen ambassadors. So we talk about consistency, kind of like the dependable aspect of it. They're consistently showing up for group. They don't miss it for the world. They tell us, I was gonna miss it, I was so tired, but I wanna be here. They even show up for their birthdays sometimes. They wanna spend the time with us. Also, the amount of time that they've been here at Valerie's house, some kids have been here for years, and they've kind of grown into that role of like wanting to be the leader, wanting to be the person that welcomes them in. So like we see that as well. We also make sure that they're at least 15 or older. We understand that this work is heavy and it can be in that way, but also like these teens are ready. They want to take the step. They know, we know, they're natural leaders in group. Again, sharing before anybody else shares, helping those newer kids, welcoming them in, showing them around, sitting with them at dinner, talking with them, sharing those experiences that they have. It's scary walking into a new group. You don't know what's going on, you don't know what to expect. So it's really important to see like that teen showing up for them, a teen supporting a teen. There's nothing more beautiful than that. They're the welcome wagon. They walk and talk the Valerie's house way. These kids understand our mission. These kids are passionate about what we do. Alexis, Story, and I, we really get it. We want to make sure that no child grieves alone. That's really important for us. They've modeled the Valerie's house values. We have 6 core values that we really make sure that we're following. They're available. They have that availability. They want to show up. And then also caregiver support is really important. A lot of their caregivers are very supportive with them joining us. They want to see their kids growing into this new role. They want to support them. They want them to learn these new skills. And so it's very important to receive the caregiver support.
All right, so speaking of the core values of Valerie's house, these are what we call our core values. This is what we all live and breathe by, the Valerie's house team, as well as all of these ambassadors and representatives of Valerie's house. So one is that we passionately care. We're going to show up for each and every family like they're the only one in front of us. We are humble. No one is above doing anything on our team. We will jump in and help wherever needed at any time, and that includes our ambassadors. A lot of them are the first to step up and say, oh, I can do this, I'm happy to help you. We are positive and optimistic. We believe in the best. We think that our work is gonna mean something to these kids. It's gonna make a difference in their lives. We're team players. We're all one big team working towards the same goal, which is to ensure that no child has to grieve alone. And we are adoptable. When we're working in children's bereavement services, things can kind of come at us all crazy at just the drop of a hat. We're adaptable. I think about over in Florida, we have had some really big hurricanes that have, had potential to shut our doors down. And, the way that we adapted and persevered through it, that's why it's core value now.
That was one of the first times I realized you were going to be with us for the long run after our hurricane really wiped out our community, Hurricane Ian in 2022. We were, the very next day, our house survived, and we just became that place where people could come in and sleep and plug in, and we had power because we were downtown, and we went to the grocery store and just got food and ice and everything we could, and Alexis was with me. A lot of the staff couldn't make it there. They were trapped, but Alexis was like, I can get there, I'll be there for you. And so we just, I remember us going shopping many times. Yeah, many times. But, how old were you at that time, 16? 16. Yeah. So this is Maya's story. One of the things that has been really cool is that the facilitator, Carolyn, she's a social worker. She doesn't work for Valerie's house. She's one of our longtime facilitators. She's been with us for 8 years. She noticed Maya as a potential teen ambassador. So this is their story.
I just kind of didn't really want to accept the fact about everything, and so I sat out of my first 3 groups. I sat outside on the steps, and then on my 4th night, Angela had come out and spoke to me and kind of just talked to me and eased me up about group. And the 5th group, I went in and have kind of never left since then. The support that Angela had given me and kind of like, don't stress it, just, you know, you don't even have to speak in your first few groups, just listen, see how you like it, do the activity, and just kind of feel it out. And yeah, I ended up just really liking it and really bonding with a lot of the people in my group.
I remember her being quiet, but I also remember you opening up and really connecting with a lot of the kids that were in there. And I think that as a facilitator, that's just so wonderful to see all the kids build those connections. You know, we're here to help guide them, but you know, it's really a group for them to help them with where they're at. I think just it's kind of gradual, but then when you look back, I think just kind of slowly over time you started sharing more, and then, you know, she started being a leader in the group, and when there were new kids, she would be welcoming, she would share what it was like when she started, especially with some of the younger kids that would come into our group.
When it would be a person's first night and they would openly share or just even just be there, I would always try and go and talk to them, and just because I think it's really brave to step in on that first night and it's really hard, and yeah, to just be a friend. I always wanted to like work around kids, and I really enjoyed it. I was outside playing with some of the kids one day, and I don't remember who it was, but someone on staff had kind of walked up to me and was like, "You're really great with the kids. Have you ever thought about volunteering here?"
I think it's just incredible to see the growth that Maya has had in those couple of years. I kind of feel like a proud mama, you know? Just being able to see her go through her group and, you know, see what, you know, she's become has just been wonderful to see. It's pretty powerful to see that. And she's been in some of the groups too, kind of helping as a teen ambassador, and it's wonderful to see her bring those new kids together and help welcome them, doing that in her new role.
I think seeing the change that happened with me, and now I'm at the point where I'm helping others that were in that same pretty low position as me, and knowing that Carolyn was one of the people that supported me through that change, I feel like, you know, I'm bringing that change within other kids as well.
Now that's Maya. She's still in high school, so she couldn't make it. But she is going to be a senior, and yeah, we've taken her on as well, and she's really grown. There's several different opportunities for them to get involved. This is kind of the track here. We identify them, they go through a training, we'll talk about that. They have a semester of volunteering and observing. They shadow other teen ambassadors. They become a group buddy at that point. And they have ongoing support from Valerie's house, and we're going to talk about that. Steps to getting started. Teens approach Valerie's house, or we approach them. They fill out a teen ambassador application. We have that on a link. We'll send it to you afterwards. You can take a look at it. They meet with VH leadership, including but not limited to me, the program director, maybe the volunteer director. We will then speak with their facilitator. Maybe their facilitator isn't someone on our staff, but we want to know, how are they in group? Do you think they're ready for this? We'll talk to their parents and others who know them. So it's almost like interviewing for a job, right? That's how much time and effort we want to put into this. Then we're determining their role. There are many choices as an ambassador. If they're becoming a group buddy, then we're going to invite them to that special teen ambassador training, and we hold it once a year over the summer. So it's coming up again in July. And then they'll observe other teen ambassadors, we'll determine the best group for them, and of course that ongoing support. So expectations and professionalism.
So some things that we kind of expect out of everyone, we kind of want to make sure that we're building them up for when they do want to pursue like a career. We want to make sure that they're punctual, that they're showing up, that they're there. We want to make sure that they are reliable. They wear the appropriate attire, use the right language. We are around people, we are around kids at all times, so we want to emphasize that it is important for them to use appropriate language. They are a positive representative of Valerie's house at all times. I can kind of share a little bit about Molly over here. She kind of goes to school, and when she would meet kids or she would hear about kids that are going through the loss of a parent, loss of a sibling, she would show up and she would say, hey, have you heard about Valerie's house? We have a peer support group. We can help you out. It's really nice. Just try it out once. So they are really representatives of our community. They want to make sure that we're reaching more kids and that they're receiving the help that they need. We also emphasize healthy boundaries. We understand that sometimes being a group buddy is not what they want to do, so that's why we have many opportunities. We can write holiday cards. They can help us with holiday gift wrapping. They can help us with thanking donors, doing community events, doing tabling events. They kind of guide us through what they're ready for. But we also emphasize self-care. A lot of us are social workers in here. A lot of us are mental health counselors in here. But self-care is really important. We tell them that. We know that it's important for you to take care of yourself. You can't pour out of an empty cup. That's something that we say a lot. So we emphasize that they should be able to take care of themselves, that we're here to support them as well. And we always have cool activities happening. The summer camp is really fun. We have nights out where we just kind of hang out, making sure that we're taking care of one another, showing up for one another. And it's a really special bond that we have. Yeah. And I can talk a little bit about the Teen Ambassador training that we did. This happened in 2026. You can kind of see some of the role play that we did. We had a big turnout. I want to say it was around 15 plus kids that we had. We kind of went over what the expectations are, what the different roles that we have are. We share what the expectations are as well, and we role play with them. We want to make sure that we are building our people up, that we are going over what group looks like, how reflection works, how it's used in groups. So actually the picture that you see down here, it's at the end of our role play session. We kind of always end in a hug. We support one another. We build each other up. And it's a very diverse group of people. Guys want to show up. They want to help other kids. There's girls of different ages. It's really cool to see. Everybody just kind of has the heart for the mission. And then after this, we actually want to go watch a baseball game. So it's kind of like the self-care aspect of it as well. We want to make sure that we're bonding, that we're taking care of one another, we're having fun. Grief doesn't only have to be sadness. There's cool stuff that happens with our grief as well. So this is part of the very important process where we're training them and making sure that they understand their role, talk about confidentiality, talk about HIPAA, and all of that stuff.
So we want to always make sure that staying calm during the big emotions, stuff comes up in group. That's not easy for adults who have been in the field for 40 years to hear. Think about what it feels like when you're 16 and you're hearing someone sharing this, your peer is sharing this. So we want to make sure that these teen ambassadors are knowing that they're not the therapist in the group. They don't have to have the answers. They don't have to provide the upfront support and be the clinical kind of support behind it. They're being supportive by being their peer, by listening, by holding that space, and by showing them that it's okay to be expressive of these emotions, to talk about it, and knowing that they are safe, that they're not going to be judged or laughed at by other kids, because that's the fear. When you're 15 and grieving, it's scary. You're going to think you're going to judge, you're going to be made fun of or looked at differently. And these teens come in and they're like, you're not going to. Like, I'm here for you. I'm going to listen to you. Maintaining boundaries as well. So really making sure that they are maintaining boundaries in their life with their grief. They're still grieving. They are still feeling all of their feelings. And we've had many teen ambassadors who have big goals and big dreams, and they're like, I want to get in these groups and I want to do this. And then they do, and because we always support them in those goals. And then they're like, well, I'm not ready to be in the group actually right yet. I think I took that step a little too quick. But they're vocalizing those boundaries, and they're saying, I want to help, but I want to help differently. So that's when we work with them, and we're like, well, what would you like to do? And then they're like, well, I would like to serve dinner, or I would like to play with the kids. So they come in before group. The kids are there for between 45 minutes to an hour nearly before we actually go into our support groups. And they're not just sitting there being quiet. They're running around in our backyard, playing basketball, going down the slides.
what is the game? Sharks and Minnows? Yep, there's always a game of Sharks and Minnows going on. And these teen ambassadors are keeping up with these kids who have a lot of energy, and they're playing and they're doing all this amazing support to make this feel like a safe space. It's make it feel like the kids want to come in the doors. So often the kids are running through, bypassing us. Caregivers are still in the car, they're not even in, and the kids are going straight to the playground or the kitchen, and they know it's their home, they know what it is. We're just borrowing their space essentially. But yeah, these teen ambassadors are maintaining those boundaries and letting us know when something becomes too much for them. Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure they're being taken care of as well. We don't forget about them once they make that switch. We care about them no matter where they are in their grief journey. We want to make sure that they're still being helped and supported, and that they aren't putting too much on their shoulders. We're going to be proud of them no matter what they do. If they help for 10 minutes during dinner, or if they're helping facilitate a group, we're proud of them for just being there and showing up, and we always try to make sure they know that. And we have our confidentiality and our HIPAA and all that as well, making sure the teen ambassadors understand that as well, that in there they are still having to go by our confidentiality policy with the 3 exceptions. So if there's a safety concern, obviously confidentiality does get broken if we are worried that a child's going to hurt themselves or somebody else, or that someone's hurting them. And then HIPAA, making sure that these teen ambassadors understand the importance that these kids are trusting us with some very sensitive information, and that we're not going to be going out in the community, and if we see them at Walmart or at the park or somewhere, we're not going to be like, oh, I know you from Valerie's house. They can approach us, but we're never going to approach them, and we want the teen ambassadors understand that, and they know that. All right, so now we're going to get into a little bit of how this happens. So this is what we call our co-leader / buddy role. And this role is where essentially we will send a teen ambassador in a group. They'll have their name tag on, they'll have, a whole bunch of responsibility, right? If a group goes quiet and no kids in the group are willing to share, that teen ambassador is going to be the first person to step forward. They're going to show what it's like to be vulnerable. They're going to show that it's a safe place to be vulnerable. They're going to help kids that have come after them in their grief journey figure this whole thing out. They're going to be sitting in those spaces, holding that space, the trust, and all of that. They're going to be assisting the group lead with time management. We run 90-minute support groups that sometimes can go over. Our teen ambassadors are going to be helping, fine motor skills, helping kids finish up their projects, so that way they can take them home. They're also going to be helping with managing our roles, right? So one of our roles is be kind. And so if, the teen ambassadors hear something from one child to another that isn't kind, that's when it's their responsibility to begin to teach them what is kind, what is something we could have said instead of that.
So again, we have this role where they're mainly, like with Ava, who is right here, by the way. She, another one, lost her mom to overdose. Came to us, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, and now is going into senior year of high school, and has been a buddy and an ambassador for the last year. She works and helps as a co-lead with the elementary school kids. So you can see she's in a group right there, and you can see how they're just staring at her. They're opening up, and she looks so confident and poised. And it's like, if you would have only seen her on the first group night, right? She was fighting in school. She was kicked out of school. She was in an alternative school. And now she's flourishing in high school and is going to go on to do big things, possibly work for us. I don't know. I think that's what she wants. So they have this role here. They're wearing their name tag. Everyone in the group knows of their authority. Again, they're never in a group by themselves. They're always the third in a group, meaning we have a facilitator. She's usually a licensed counselor, has some background in working with kids who are struggling with grief and trauma. Then we have a second, maybe that's a community volunteer, a group buddy, a staff member. The teen ambassador comes in as the third. So I want to be very clear with that, is how that works with us. They're really that extra set of hands in a group. However, they're sometimes the one that the kids are listening to most, as we know. The other role here is more of a participant. They're not wearing their lanyards or name tag that night. They're coming in usually in a teen group, right? So they're with kids their own age at this point. but they're not holding that authority. They're not coming in as I'm going to help manage the time and the rules. They're coming in for a specific reason. And maybe Alexis, you can share a little bit about our trauma night that we got started and how difficult that was.
Absolutely. So I think I had been working for Valerie's House probably for about 2 years when Angela approached me, and she said that we were really struggling to get a trauma group off of the ground. And so that would consist of anybody who lost a person to homicide, suicide, or, by a drug overdose. And so she said, she's like, we have 2 teens, they're not really coming back, and all of our other teen groups, they seem to be doing really well. I don't really know what's going on. And so I said, okay, what can I do to help? And I essentially went into this group as a participant, took my name tag off, and I was just one of them, except I knew the Valerie's House way, and I knew what could come from processing our emotions in a big circle together, because I had already had 2 years in Angela's grief support group. And so I had a really good understanding of what a good teen group is and how many emotions and how many things can be processed in just 90 minutes from these people, from these teenagers. And so I went in there, name tag off, and I, just modeled vulnerability over and over and over for weeks, showing these teenagers that it's okay to talk about this stuff. You're not going to be in trouble, especially with trauma night specifically. There's a lot of stigma surrounding, suicide, homicide, overdose, all of those things. And so I went in and I just showed them, this is okay, this is a safe space. And after a few months, we really started to pick up on attendance, and it eventually skyrocketed into a group that was almost 10 kids, and now it's one of our most attended group nights. And we actually have to split them, like what Angela's saying. So, if our group gets bigger than 8, we have to split them. And so we actually have now so many teens coming on our trauma night that we have to make extra space for them. And so just to think of how far that night has come in the last 5 years, it's really incredible. And it helps give them the space to share their story. I'm not in there, sharing my story of my loss, from start to finish. I'm just in there to say, did anybody else feel like this really sucked? Did anybody else have a hard day at school today? Things like that. It really makes a difference because they're listening to you. You're not an adult. You're not, just some, counselor or therapist trying to give them advice that they don't want. You're a friend. You're a peer, and you're here to help them, and you understand what that's like.
And Emily, I wanted to share you too, because you work a lot with what we call our sea turtles and our dolphins, which are the elementary school kids. What has your role been like in there with the elementary school?
So obviously they're elementary school. We kind of help them model a lot of the respect and kindness to one another, but also helping with spelling. Sometimes though, it's hard for them to talk about those feelings. When you're 6, 7 years old, you're like, I don't understand what this means. I don't understand why my body feels the way that it does. So sometimes we kind of help open up those conversations of like, you know what, I was feeling really mad when my mom died. It was a hard time. And the kids are able to see that. I'm not this older adult in the group with them. I'm kind of like, my mom died when I was 11, so I feel like I'm able to kind of identify with them a little bit. But kind of like Alexis was sharing, modeling that vulnerability. It's okay for you to talk about it. It's okay if you don't know what you're feeling. We really make sure that they understand that we're meeting them wherever they're at. These feelings are all very confusing. They really are. But just like going in there, like opening a space for them to talk about it. Just if it's school that they're struggling with, opening up those topics as well. Grief is more than just the grief of your person. So much is changing in your life, and so much is changing in their life. So it really is important for us to create that open space, create those conversations, create that kindness between one another. I think that supporting peers is so important. There's nothing more than getting validation from another peer telling you, I was jealous. I do feel jealous that somebody else has their parent and I don't. And those 11-year-olds, 9-year-olds, they really need to hear that. They really need that space to share. And then the teen ambassadors really do play that role of showing them that I was in your shoes 11 years ago. And I'm here now, and it is possible to talk about them, and it is okay for you to not know exactly what you're feeling, but just showing up and being there is really, really important. And the kids they love to come to Valerie's house. They love to share what they're feeling. They love to share when they're struggling in school. And all of these topics are important for them to share and talk about. But yeah, especially helping the younger children open up. And I think the teen ambassadors really play an important role in that. And helping with spelling, it's really important. They want to make sure that their words are being carried through, and we help with activities. So this is the role in both settings. We want to make sure that we're listening first, that we're not kind of putting our own vision and perception into what they're sharing. We want to make sure that we're creating the safe space before we give any advice. It's peer support and peers validating one another. We let other kids see that they made it. It is possible. We never get over our grief, but we do learn how to manage with it. And younger kids, other teens, seeing that teens have been able to do that. Ava has changed so much. Alexis has changed so much. Story and I, we weren't where we used to be 5-10 years ago. We also model healthy coping and communication. Again, like we shared, it's hard to talk about these things, especially when you're so young. You have so much anger, so much jealousy, so many feelings. Grief is just a lot, and when we're able to model that for them, showing them that it's possible to talk about it, it's really important, and it's really important to do that in both roles. We share when it's appropriate, when nobody else is sharing, when there's not people consistently showing up. That's when we kind of step in and we take that role and we just kind of open the conversation up for them. We share when it's relevant. We share when we don't shift focus. We're making sure that we're focusing on what they're sharing and kind of opening the conversation up. And teens can be leaders, and at the same time still be grieving. We talk about that. Grief is a lifelong process. You never stop grieving. You always are going to miss your person. You're going to want to have them with you, but they can still show up as leaders. They can still support one another. They can still share when it's possible. And then some teens continue to attend their own group. Ava still attends her own group. She's still, on that Wednesday night, she is another teen. She's with the other teens. They're talking, they're laughing, they're doing their own thing. She's not a participant. We do not expect her to do that. She is that person in her own group. I still attend the young adult group. I still feel like it's important for me to talk about my mom, and we still have that. We make sure that we provide that support for them when they feel like they still need that.
So we have our pre and post group, and do they attend? They do. Definitely pre-group. We want them in that pre-group. We want them understanding the space they're entering, and it's also a great way for them to kind of decompress and shift into that role that they're about to step into. So there's exceptions, like with everything, we're always adaptable. There's exceptions where sometimes they do stay out of pre-group. Sometimes they're helping with dinner. Our families are arriving early, and so they're helping serve that. They might be helping with sign-in or setup, but we always do make sure they have that space in one way or another to kind of transition into, here's your daily tasks, and now here is, we're about to enter group night, and we want to make sure that they're in the right headspace. This is also where, if we see our teen, one of our teen ambassadors, and they had a bad day at school, or maybe they're having a personal problem. That happens. We're all human. We understand that more than anyone. Being a human isn't easy. So we check in with them. And sometimes they think they need to be there because they might let us down if they're not there. And that's not the case. They need to put themselves first sometimes. So we check in. If they're not feeling the best, if they had a rough day, we let them go home for the night. We let them help in a way that is going to be better for them. Maybe they just help and play with the kids and then they go home, or they just have dinner and sit with the family and then they head out. We want to make sure that they're okay and that they're ready to be in that headspace. We never want to push them to a point that could be dangerous for them, that could hurt them in their grief and where they're at. During the group night, they're engaging with families during the dinner, during the playtime. So they're sitting with our new families. Sometimes we have, on most nights, we're always welcoming a new family. So we have new family ambassadors is what they're called, and that's going to be mostly our teen ambassadors. They're coming in and they are going to be kind of accompanying and being a buddy to these new families and making sure they know where the kitchen is and know that, like, we can go sit here and, like, here's the playground, like, let me, like, go and play with you guys, and, like, let's go and like shoot a couple hoops, and let's go and do all this, and like let me introduce you to some new people as well. And so we're bringing them to other kids or group buddies in their group room for the night and introducing them and having them make those connections. That way, fast forward a half hour when they're going into their group night, for these new families who have never been in this space, it's a little less scary because they know the people they're about to interact with and talk about these very vulnerable topics. And then we have our post group. If our teen ambassador is under 18, they don't go into the main post group, but they do have a separate post group. Post group can be a bit more intense. It can be a bit heavy. That debriefing is still important for them to get out at the end of the night to make sure that they're not carrying the content of that support group home, that they are able to check it at the door and go home and still be able to have a very fulfilling night and make sure that they're taking care of themselves. So if they're under 18, they don't go into the main post group, but we still do check in with them to make sure that did anything come up that you need to let us know about, that we need to take a second action on, that how are you feeling? Did someone say something that maybe it activated feelings in your own grief? Let's talk about that. And we'll sit with them. Sometimes we do sit with our young adult or teen ambassadors for a little bit after group, and we just talk it out. We just talk what they're feeling through. And that's okay. We know that there's going to be groups where sometimes it affects them, but again, that comes back to that self-care and taking care of them, and that at the end of the day, we're always going to support them. No matter what role they are at Valerie's house, we're always going to be there to make sure that they are being supported and taken care of, and that they're not pushing themselves too hard. So you're going to see here just some of those amazing moments in our group, our teen ambassadors helping in many different ways. You can see Carter in the upper left hand. And again, like they get down with the kids and they're at their level and they're playing, they're hanging out. Alexis with her sea turtles. You want to talk about that group a little bit? I think it's really special what you did with them.
Yeah, this is right up here. This was a group of sea turtles, is what we call them. So they are 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. And I moved away to graduate school. I've still stayed connected with Valerie's house. But one way I've done that is by crocheting them all little sea turtles. And so they use it in their group as a talking stick for the week. And then one of the kids who comes gets to actually take it home. And so my hope in doing that was to kind of motivate them to come and do their grief work with a stuffed animal. And so that's another way that, people can get involved. And, that was just me. I took that all upon myself and, did that. But I'm just one. There's 20 of us back home who do very similar things like that. Just go that extra mile to make sure kids are cared for.
What do they present to you there?
Yeah, so that was my last group night with them before I moved to do my master's in counseling. And so they gave me a frame that said, "Thank you for being the light," or "Thank you for being the rainbow in our storm." And they all had signed it and just wrote really sweet messages on it. And so they really benefit from having us around.
That isn't something Valerie created. That was one of the parents. Yeah, we didn't put that together. One of the parents showed up with that one night and said, "We're going to miss Alexis so much, the impact she's made on these kids," and had that created for you. Okay, so we've talked about group leading and buddies, but we don't want to forget all these other ways that you should, if you're not already, and you feel comfortable, be using your participants. Because who can tell a better story about what your organization does than those who have gone through it and lived it? You can hire the best development director in the world and pay them all the money in the world. Do you really think they're going to be able to tell the story the way these ones can right here? These are your faces of your organization. These are the next generation of the organization. These are going to be your legacy as a leader. Who on your team are you going to be bringing up in those teen ambassadors? How are you going to give them experiences that maybe they'd never even had? I mean, we're going to talk in a minute here how we went to the state capitol and advocated for funding, and we got it. And I didn't do much of the talking, they did. So utilizing them, speaking events, tabling events. I mean, how many requests do we get for tabling events in a community, right? And we never want to turn them down because you never know who you're going to meet at a tabling event. But my God, there's a lot, at least in our area. So your teens and your families, they can do those tabling events. You can train them up on that, have the tabling kit. A lot of it's just Q&A, people are asking. And if they don't have a question, they can say, sign in here and we'll have the CEO or the program director reach back out to you. So tabling events are a great way, and I know you guys did tons of tabling events for years and years. Of course, the media, anytime the media reaches out, you know, giving tours. Sometimes I don't even give the tour to the donor. I'm the CEO. I'm like, why don't you have a good 45 minutes with Alexis first, and then I'll come and meet in the living room. She's already shared every room in the house, what it's meant for her, every child that she's. By the time that donor sits with me, I don't have to say much more, you know? So, and that happened very naturally. She was volunteering one day doing Christmas cards or something. The phone rang, she answered it, Alexis, and I overheard her on the phone, and she's like, thank you so much for your support. Like, we just can't tell you how much, like, I'm a participant in the program. I just can't tell you what this means to us, da-da-da. She hangs up the phone, I go, who was it? She goes, it was someone who wants to make a donation to Valerie's house. And I'm like, how did you feel on the phone saying that? She's like, I loved it. And I was like, do you want to do more of that? And she's like, sure. And I was like, let me print you a list. So I had like 25 names for her the next day, and of course she was on the phone and she loved it. But I mean, again, you're just finding what your teens and families want to do, right? And she loves that, and Emily is doing that. Story, no, don't make her do that. She might if we really needed it. We talked about a summer camp we have in a few weeks. This is a great toe in the water, so they don't have to commit to a semester of volunteering. But if you put on a camp, or even just like a holiday event, maybe it's one event, and you need volunteers, utilize your teen ambassadors or future teen ambassadors and just helping out with one event. Maybe you can, that way you're able to see how they are with the families, and that allows them to get comfortable. Here we are talking about speaking and advocating. Lots of opportunities. We went to the Florida Capitol. Anytime we have a fundraiser, you know what? The first person on stage at our gala with 350, 400 people is not me. It was Alexis. She stepped up and introduced me. Same thing with last year. You know, we had Molly speak with the blonde hair. She spoke. Justin down there to the left with all the tattoos, you know, lost his dad to suicide. You know, he was the one that started on the trauma night with Alexis and was like, I'm never coming back. I hate this group. And now, like 2 years later, he's our spokesperson. So, and then in the middle, that's the president of the Florida Senate. Not just any senator, the president. Happened to represent our area. We asked for 15 minutes of his time. We got into his office up in Tallahassee. It was very intimidating. We didn't know what we were doing, Alexis and I. Within 10 minutes, you know what? We brought the masks. If you guys have ever done the inside and outside masks, we use that a lot for presentations. And so we just pulled out the masks and showed him a mask. And she walked him through what it was. And he just sat there and he responded with, you know, I've got a lot of people who come in here every day wanting something. And you can get really cynical when you're in my role. And we were just bracing for him to tell us to get out. And he said, but now I meet you too. And I hope again. And in our state, it's very divisive, just like with most politics. And he said, there's a lot of things in my job right now I absolutely hate, and I don't want to be doing it. But now that I've met the two of you, thank you. And he said, how much do you want? And I said, $1 million. And he said, how about 2? And he made it happen. Wouldn't have happened without our teen ambassadors there. Now it's a one-time gift. I don't know if we'll get it again, because he's not going to be in office next year, but we're certainly going to take advantage of that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to use them to speak if they're comfortable. I don't know. How much did that experience impact you?
You know, it was truly an honor. It was truly an honor to be able to talk about this place that saved my life, and you know, it put me back on track, and all that it has given me, and to be able to talk to somebody so big in the community. I mean, we were at the Florida State Capitol. I mean, as a mental health counselor, they teach you different ways to advocate, and they teach you that, you know, going this big is very rare, that people don't get the opportunity to share their story and don't have it go the way that we had it go. But I feel like I'm so able to talk about my story, and I have nothing to be ashamed of after, you know, telling the president of the Senate my story, and him saying, wow, you've did it, you've done it, you did it, you made it through. So it's just given me so much confidence and so much ability, and you know, the ability to trust myself and know that what I'm saying matters.
Emily, your thoughts on?
Yeah, so I had the chance to meet with the House Speaker of Florida. His name is Daniel Perez, and I was actually with my sister. We're on the right corner over there. I'm gonna be so real with you guys. I wanted to throw up while I was in that meeting. I'm not going to lie. But kind of like what Alexa shared, I think it's really important to be able to get our stories out there. I think that people are very receptive to what we're talking about. It's something that a lot of people are going to face. Death is not easy. It's not easy to talk about. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable. But the fact that Angela trusted us and we felt comfortable to go up there and share the mask, share our experiences, kind of tell him about the services that we provide, and him being really receptive to what we had to say it made me feel really good about myself, and it made me feel very confident. I know my sister kind of shared the same experience. I think it's really important to trust that your participants want and really believe in what you guys are doing. And like Angela shared, there's nobody better to tell their story and to share what we want to talk about in our mission than the person that has walked through those things. And I feel like I became a better woman because of that. So I'm here now, and you guys are listening to me, so this is amazing.
This is nothing compared to that. We talked about all the community
Events. You can see just tons of opportunities for tabling events and just different ways for them to continue to give. And then we also have a video. Actually, it's something that Justin, can we do a shout out to our communications manager back there, black shirt, Justin? Okay, so if you guys follow Valerie's House on social media, it's a lot of his mission, vision, brain, everything there. And he is so creative. Justin's been with us for 2 years now. Took him from our local NBC, our CBS affiliate. You gotta love those former reporters. I'm a former reporter, by the way. People who have been in the media know how to do communications and PR. Sometimes they get overlooked, but if you have your local newscasters, and a lot of times they're ready to get out, identify them and bring them on your team, because he's been one of the best hires we've ever made. He also helps out in the groups, and he came up with something called Grief on the Street. So this is a little video. We have the kids go out and interview people, like what we used to call in the news business the man on the street, where you're just asking for people's opinions. And this has begun to explode on our social media sites. So do we want to, and we even used the littlest guy. His parent gave us permission on group night. Sometimes we go on the streets, sometimes we go on the beach. But we actually used Chris this night to do the Grief on the Street during his group night. Here it is. Hold on 1 second. Do we have I wonder if we can. Oh man, I want you guys to hear it. It's so cute. If not, we can send you the link afterwards.
I think the volume is as high as
Is it? I don't. Yeah, if they can't, if it's not, they're not gonna be able to hear it. So we'll pause it. Don't worry about that. We'll come back to it. We'll send you the link afterwards. But it's another way that we have the kids and families get involved. Is doing a lot. We have TikTok and social media. We had one post that got 467,000 views, right? Or likes. Justin? Views, yeah. So that was a little girl on group night. We've been utilizing Ashley, who I'm there, we have a pager in her mom's name. She's really taken on the TikTok because we don't know a lot about it in my generation. We're still learning it. And some of the kids like TikTok and some of them don't as far as teen. Again, their dream, these three, they like groups. They want to be in the groups. They want to be helping kids. They're going into the mental health fields. Some of our teens, they don't want to do anything like that, but they love social media. So we've been able to use them for that. And then before we break for some questions and share a little bit more, this is another way that one of our teens got involved. It's a really beautiful story, has nothing to do with groups. So please listen, I think you might get some ideas here.
From heartbreak to healing, Gulf Coast News reporter Britt Leone introduces us to the teen who found her place after losing the woman she was closest to.
Hey, my name is Ashley. I'm 18 years old and I've been going to Valerie's house for over 2 years now.
At first glance, it's just a letter and a bag of goodies. But behind every line for Ashley Wong is a lifeline she's written to strangers walking the path she's already traveled.
I was still in shock from what happened.
At 16 years old, one morning changed everything for Ashley's family.
I went out to say good morning to my mom and dad, but only to see my dad in the hall.
Ashley's mom, Kelly, passed away in her sleep the night before.
It was definitely just like an out-of-body experience. Like, it just didn't feel real. There's always gonna be things that like only a mom can bring, but yeah.
Now in college, Ashley feels her mom's absence in times she needs support the most.
My roommate's always calling their moms and stuff, which is like totally fine, but it's like I wasn't able to do that, and so like that also like sucked a lot, but yeah.
So, we're gonna do this together.
But in the space her mother left behind, someone else stepped in.
So this will be one we're gonna do together, like together our moms.
Founder of Valerie's House, Angela Melvin. When Ashley's sorority hosted a mother-daughter weekend near Mother's Day, Angela booked a flight.
Showing her around and like letting her meet my friends and like my like support system out there, I guess, because like I talk about them a lot to her, and it was just very nice being able to like have that normalcy. She's like definitely someone I go to a lot when there's things going on, and like I know I can always have her in my life.
From deep loss,
yeah,
something steady bloomed. And now, through her letter, Ashley plants those same seeds of hope for others.
You are not alone, and there are people who want to support you during this difficult time.
In a place that for Ashley now feels like home, with grief comes growth, and in heartbreak, there's healing.
Lean on your support system and take care of yourself, and know brighter days will come. From Ashley.
In Fort Myers, Britt Leone, Gulf Coast News.
So one of the things that Ashley did is she put together a little care bag for every girl who lost a mom. So at the beginning of their tour at Valerie's house, they'll get a teddy bear or a stuffed animal, and now they get a letter from Ashley. So that's the letter she was reading. That's folded up and it's put in a special bag with all these things that she collected through her sorority, like face cream and like, she's like all the stuff that moms would do with their daughters. And so she just keeps replenishing that every 6 to 8 months for us. So again, she's not leading groups, but she had an idea of, I want to make sure every kid has a care bag. Can I put that together? So let them come up with these ideas. We have them, of course, all over our website. It's really great for people to be able to see the teen ambassadors. It's a part-time job. So after their first semester of observing, if we decide to bring them on, we
pay them. So they get paid $15 an hour. So it's a job for them. They're on fire. They're already loving it. And then we're like, oh, and now we're putting you on payroll. So, 10 hours a week, $15, an hour. I mean, a lot of us, our budgets, we can make that happen for them, for a few of them, right? I mean, so that's what we've been able to do. We also have a scholarship now. It's the Valerie's House Scholarship. We gave out $75,000 in college scholarships. Our scholarship committee just met 2 weeks ago, and we gave out 30 scholarships. Anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000. One got $5,000, and all three of these ladies up here, young ladies, have received Valerie's House Scholarship. 2 of them for their masters. So donors will support this if they know about it and if they talk to them, especially if they're going into the mental health field. So we know that they're coming up through the program, and now they want that. I mean, Emily, what were you going to do before this?
I was gonna do accounting, you guys. I don't know what I was doing, honestly. It was, honestly, I was just kind of doing whatever I felt was right at the moment, but then I started volunteering, and it started with me writing holiday gift cards for the donors, and that's how I slowly started putting like my foot in the door, and I was like, social work. I was hearing a lot from the social workers in our team, and they really began to inspire me, and they built me up. They told me, you do really good in groups. Have you ever considered social work? And I was like, I'm in accounting. I don't know. But then the more that I talked with them, the more that I talked with Angela, with Story, with Alexis, I really started to see that this was my passion. This is something that I actually really do care for, that I would wake up every morning and be like, I am making a difference. I do love what I'm doing. accounting was not that. It wasn't. It just was not. And it's because of everybody here. It's because people trust us. People see the light in us and see that we are able to step into those roles that I was able to recognize that social work is for me. We'll come back to that.
So, sorry, you want to share about the adults too and how they get involved?
Not just for the teens.
So I know we focus so much on our teen ambassadors, but we have also extended that into the adults and the caregivers that we have seen. And sometimes it can be both. The very first photo in the top left, that's Heather and Haley. Haley is one of our amazing teen ambassadors who has her poster, I think, down there. That's her mom, Heather, and Heather works for us as our HR manager, and they came together nearly 10 years ago after Haley's dad died and Heather's husband died, and they were a family in the program. And they went through groups. Heather went in our caregiver group. Haley went in her, was she a sea turtle or a dolphin at the time? I think a dolphin. She was in her younger group, and they both kind of came through it together. And a couple years fast forward, and they both wanted to give back in their own ways. So both of them are still with us today, and we wouldn't be able to do anything without either of them for sure. Heather and Haley are definitely some of the biggest hearts of Valerie's house. Next to it, you're going to see Marshall and Nick. Marshall has also been around since the beginning. He was actually in the caregiver group with my dad when my dad brought me to Valerie's house. So we've kind of watched each other grow up through the program, and I was, who's not in the photo, but I was in the teen group with his daughter, Jessica. And then Nick was in one of our younger child groups. And now they come together on our Monday night group as a father-son duo, and they volunteer. And Nick helps out in our younger kid groups as a amazing buddy. The kids love him and are always hanging all over him. And then Marshall helps lead our dads group. So it's dads that are grieving the loss of their wife and are raising now their children without mom. And
something about that is, so Marshall co-leads, I mean, again, similar to Alexis, we are having a hard time getting dads to come. Many of you understand that. So we decided to start, and if they did come, they were the only dad, right? So they was all women and maybe like two dads, or one dad. And it was always Marshall and Story's dad. They were like the two dads for years. And then we'd have some, and so finally we're like, let's just do a dad's group. How would this even look? Let's do it. And so we have a therapist, a mental health counselor named Sean, and he took the lead on it, but then we had Marshall co-lead. But again, he was in there as a participant sharing his story, and then before you know it, 2 dads, 3 dads, 4 dads, now we have 15 dads in that group coming and growing. Some graduate out, we've had some 5-6 years, and then new ones, and every night at the end of that group night, they do a group hug. So you have dads, and I don't think that would have happened without Marshall, because he was the dad that was like, it's okay to talk about this guy. Like, he's an engineer, but we have dads, we always say grief doesn't, it's all class. We have dads who drive in a Corvette. We have a dad that doesn't even have a car, he Ubers. That's what we love about what we do, right? None of that matters. Once they get into that room, it doesn't even matter. Same thing with the kids. We say that all the time. A lot of the teens will say in group, we wouldn't be friends in high school. We wouldn't even talk. None of that matters here though. So same thing with the parents. This is a grandparent who now co-leads the grandparents raising grandchildren. Her grandson Jason, after her son died from an overdose, she was raising her grandson. And then sometimes they just come and cook for us. This dad just wanted to grill for us. So again, another opportunity to get them involved. Maybe they're just helping with dinner, tabling events. This mom ended up with Peyton. He was another one who didn't want to be in group. And then has got his mom involved. So yeah, lots of ways that the caregivers can get involved too. They're always in a group with a licensed therapist. I want to be very clear. Our participants are never leading that group. They are that co-lead, that buddy, that ambassador in that group. And then employment opportunities. I think we have 4 employees now, full-time employees that are adults. So we have one of our program operations is a former parent in the program. We have Jeannie, who's our house manager, and we have Heather, who's our HR and business manager. Am I forgetting anyone? I think Kathy, program. Anyone else? I'm trying to think, yeah. Honestly, when I post a job, they're kind of like the first people I look to, you know, because I know how much passion they're going to have. And they're going to stick with us through the rough times, right? When everyone else wants to leave you because this work is so hard. Your ambassadors are going to stick with you. So, next steps for building your own ambassador program. My guidance would be assess your program needs. This is what we needed at the time. We have a lot of groups at Valerie's house. You saw our numbers. It's where we're at. We need leaders for our groups. Our groups are not run by all. We have a mix of, so we have every night of the week, Monday through Thursday, we have groups. And on every group night, there's 7 different groups happening. And in each group, there's 3 to 4 adults. So that's 28 to 30 adults we need every single night at Valerie's house or ambassadors to help run those groups. So you can see we had a need, but instead of stressing and overworking, making people work, you know, every single night of the week, let's tap into what we already have. And I know that the reason that we've grown so fast, a lot of people want to know, how have you guys grown so fast in 10 years? It's because we've utilized them. They're the ones that kept the kids coming back, not necessarily me or our staff. It was recognizing the power that they have and how it empowers them to be able to be that voice. Engage your board of directors. See how this feels for them. It's not always going to feel right for everyone, right? Is that too much? What if they are still grieving? Is this going to hurt their grief? Well, that's all going to be individual and based on the participant. That's why we go through a job description, an interview, we talk with their family. And it's usually the ones we know most. All 3 of these were in my group. So I knew them very well for years. So making that decision is a big decision and shouldn't be taken lightly. They may want to get involved, but maybe group isn't the best place for them. Have an application, have a job description. We'll be happy to share with you what ours is. And then make sure you have a training. You know, at one point they were going through our regular volunteer training, and then we decided, you know, they kind of need their own training because they have a dual role. You know, they're still young, they're kind of in their own grief like most of us will always be. So how are they going to facilitate these groups and help out? It's different than putting them through the full 2-day training that we, plus they don't need a half a day on the mission and vision of Valerie's house. They've lived it. So those would be my thoughts for getting started. And yeah, with that, I know we have about 10 minutes left. We'd love some Q&A. Thoughts, questions? Yes?
I was wondering if you could talk to maybe the pitfalls of this, like how you would handle, have you ever had to fire someone? Or like how does that look when you are dealing with some really vulnerable youth and whether it's working out, like what happens if they don't show up? Like how do you do that? And also I'm wondering, is there, and if you're gonna send this to us, then feel free to ignore, but a time frame post-loss that they're invited into this program?
Yeah, I mean, usually it's like 3 years, I try to say, before, especially before a group role. We've had others come in at year 2 to do other, you know, dinner events and even just playing before a group, but we've noticed that really it's once you hit that 3-year mark that there's some, just a shift, you know, in your ability to be a leader, you know, you're not still in the day. But each teen is different. We don't have a hard, fast rule on that, just like we don't have a hard, fast rule for when we accept kids. You know, you get the question all the time, is it like right after the funeral or is it 3 months after the funeral? At Valerie's house, we're just so flexible. We're just like, we got to meet you, we've got to find out as much as we can. What do you want? Okay, and then we make those decisions. So we don't even have a rule for that. So I would say it's very individual. But, you know, you mentioned they are still grieving, you know, and they have mentors on the team, you know, whether it be me or another leader. We've got to take care of and watch out for them. This stuff is heavy in group, you know, and so I think you want to limit the number of groups that they're doing too. Try not to have them on more than like one, especially in their first year, you know. But, you know, we have had a couple of teens, not many, but we have had to have some conversations, you know, some hard conversations, and that goes for the adults I hire too, that are former parents, and then all of a sudden they're staff members, and I'm like, it's like hiring family, you know? You're just like, wow, how do okay, is this gonna ruin? So it's very tricky. It is very risky, losing the relationship, but to me it's worth the risk. You know, I weigh it out and I'm like, but all the good that comes out of it is worth it. But it's absolutely, you can't avoid that. There will be situations that will be hard conversations, and maybe a family, you lose a relationship over it because you had to hold them accountable for this new role, and they weren't, you know, they really shouldn't get any special exceptions. I mean, they should still be, as we talked about, punctuality and the way you dress, and you know, all the standards that we have for all the others. They also have to meet those too. So it's really hard. That was probably the hardest part about it, but it's worth it. Other questions, thoughts? Yes.
I have so many questions.
Oh, tell us.
I'm glad I know the story because I will bombard her maybe on a personal level. But do you ever have ambassadors helping while, like, maybe their other family members are still participants, right? Because let's say there's someone who's 17, but they have 7 and 8-year-old siblings, and the mom still wants to come. Does that ever happen?
Yes, and in fact, some of them are still in their own groups. So we don't say that they have to be out of, like, you can no longer be in a grief support group. That is just a decision we made. Each organization can do it differently. Okay, we have decided, as Emily said, she's almost 10 years out, and she's still grieving. So she's in her young adults group, even in this role. So that's just to say like your grief has to be over with before this is ready. That'll never happen. So we want to still offer that support, and that's just the way that we do it. And yes, so they may have a younger sibling that is or a parent that's still in it. So, but again, waiting for 3 years, a lot of times that they have naturally graduated out. And we have what we call a phase 2 program at Valerie's house, where after 3 to 4 years at Valerie's house, they go into just a monthly support group. And it's a lot lighter, and it's more family-based activities, and that's where a lot of those families land. But so many of our families really are with us for just so many years and years and years. We don't have we haven't figured out how to really ever say goodbye. And it's like, it's hard because you have to make room for everyone, but yes. And other questions?
I have another question. Do you ever have ambassadors that haven't gone through the program, but they want to help and support you, you know?
You mean like others who have lost someone when they were young, but didn't?
Maybe not necessarily, but I have some local teens who are always looking for service hours. And we currently don't accept anyone unless they're 21. So do you ever have like ambassadors who haven't gone through the program but want to maybe help serve food or?
Yeah, it was usually 18 and up is what we require. And we have a lot of college students, and we rely a lot on the college students to help us, especially if they've had a loss. Maybe they didn't come through our program because they're from somewhere else. We have a big university where we're at, and we've noticed that they're very helpful. As far as leading, like being in a group buddy role, we probably wouldn't put them in there unless they've had a loss, because as you can see, the most important thing about these 3 is they've had the loss. So those kids immediately eyes wide open when Alexis checks in, I'm Alexis, and I lost someone too. But could they have other roles? Yeah, we've had teens, we've had them do sorority and fraternity projects, we've had them barbecue and cook for us. The tutoring was a huge thing. We had a bunch of college and senior, actually high school seniors who wanted to give back as part of the project. They were super smart, go to a big private school, and they were like, we want to tutor. So on Wednesdays at Valerie's house, they come and they tutor in math and reading some of our kids. So that's an opportunity. So absolutely, I think you could use kind of like, well, what do they want to do? You know, maybe they help set up for group, you know, and help set up the group rooms. So that's things too, but we wouldn't necessarily put them in the group role. We try to save that really for those who have had that loss, you know. Other questions? Yes?
You mentioned a couple times about explaining or showing the masks.
The masks. Oh, we're gonna show you those masks. It's an activity that we do, And it's all about the colors of emotion, and we'll give you an example afterwards. But it's one of the most, to me, we do it every year. It really allows them to paint and show you what they feel and the emotions, and you can use that as an. So when you speak publicly or go into where people invite you in, I always like to bring an activity, right? I mean, how better to show what you do than let me bring you an example of an activity. And the mask is an example of an activity that we do at Valerie's house, a craft that we're able to show our donors and supporters. Other questions, thoughts? Yes?
I love this so much. Can you just speak to sort of like how you approach in the training session as far as like self-disclosure? We're really trying, and I see the value in disclosing, your own loss and grief, and maybe more so with caregivers. I'm gonna stop talking.
I know, it's another one too, that it's really tricky because as they'll tell you, once kids learn that they've lost someone, they're gonna start asking them, right? Tell me more about who you lost and how you lost them. And so the training really dives into that. We try to, it's their group, meaning the participants group, and the ambassadors are there to help move it along just like any other facilitator would. They're not there to own it or make it about them. And I think you just get better with that over time. Story has built up the young adults program from 0 to 100. I'll just share it because you're a young adult grieving. How do you lead that group with self-disclosure?
Yeah, so it's hard. It's always going to be hard. There's always going to be moments where kids are going to, or I guess young adults in my case, are going to say something and it's going to hit home. I'm still grieving. It's 11 years for me on Wednesday. It's still very fresh, but also not fresh. Grief is always just weird, right? And when we're in those groups and we're in those spaces, we know as ambassadors, as leaders, that's not our space. We're here with that intention, with that hope to hold space for them, to let these people who are coming in and needing the help that we received in the last 10 years, we are now allowing that space for them. So it's kind of just knowing that I'm holding the space for them. And when there's a lull in group, when there's maybe a silence that goes on for longer than what's comfortable, and no one's ready to take that next step to speak or say something, then I might say something, I might chime in. I might share a little bit of my story, feeling like, I know, Alexis, you were talking about feeling really guilty. I felt a lot of guilt too at the beginning. This is kind of how it worked out for me. And being able to let them know that they can relate to the people they're seeing, their leaders, and being able to say they're not alone. Another good time to self-disclose and to be able to give a little tidbit of myself is also if there's someone sharing something and nobody else in the group can relate, but I know that I can, I might say something so they don't feel like they're the only one in the room that feels that way. Or chiming in, just making it where they still feel like they're being heard, where they're not feeling like they're insane for their feelings or something. So it's all about reading the room. It also comes with practice. I've been helping out in groups for 5 years now. So you pick up as you kind of go and as you watch and observe. It's why we also have teen ambassadors watch longer term teen ambassadors as they're coming in, because you're kind of seeing and picking up okay, that's when you share, that's when you jump in, that's when you do that, and then you kind of pick up these tips and tricks along the way, and you kind of, there's always going to be times you look back and you're like, well, I should have said that, or I shouldn't have said that, but a lot of it's intuition as well.
Questions, thoughts? We have a few more minutes here. Yes?
You mentioned being in a teen group as a teen and support. Do you typically do an age gap? So the teens are working with younger kids, or does that make sense?
It's both. Yeah, it is both. Depending on where that ambassador is in their journey with us, and as an ambassador, as I said, I looked to Alexis to help build up our complicated and traumatic loss night, because we only had a few teens that were coming. We'd have one teen and they never come back. We could see something was not meshing and bonding in that group. She became the glue for that group. So she was the teen. Now they didn't realize, I mean, we didn't hide the fact that she has her own group on another night. I don't even think you were getting paid at this point. I think she was more of a volunteer, really wearing that ambassador, role as a volunteer. So we didn't feel like there was anything strange about that. But yes, it really does depend on them. Certainly would not shy away from using them in their own age group. When they're 3-4 years out from their loss, use them. Use them to be that person that can relate and connect. But a lot of times they're with the younger kids as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, I felt at that age that I understood what confidentiality was. I wasn't running around and telling these teens' business to any other teens. I wasn't even going into post group with them. I wasn't the leader. The leader would go into post group, and so I knew what the responsibility was when I was stepping into the role. So I got a lot of training on this is what this is, and this is something we would keep to ourselves. This is something we would share. Plus, I had lived Valerie's house for 3 years, knowing exactly what an amazing, wonderful group can do for a grieving teenager.
One last question? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
How much time, I know you have a lot of ambassadors, but how much time would you say you spend managing this program?
Jason, raise your hand. We have a role now, leading many different parts of the volunteers and the people part of Valerie's house, but the Teen Ambassador program falls under Jason as well. So it is, and Emily is now overseeing it as a position with us too. So it needs some love and care, right? It definitely has its own set of responsibilities. I think checking in with them regularly, having their own post group, having outings where they can connect and just feel cared for, and also really recognizing when it's just too much. Maybe they take a break from a semester, and sometimes they'll just let you know, it's just too much, But it's interesting because so many of them just really love doing it. They really, really love doing it, and they don't want to miss.
I also want to say that the Teen Ambassadors, we really do a good job at trying to connect, and Valerie's house really does a wonderful job with that. I feel like we're all friends at the end of the day, and we really want to make sure that we're taking care of one another. So part of my responsibility has been kind of checking in on them at all times. Whenever they have group, hey, you're doing wonderful. I want you to know that you're doing a great job. But they also check in with us, and when they have problems with school, they come to us, they come to the other Teen Ambassadors, and we're really good at speaking with one another, but it really, you have to check in on them and make sure that they're doing good, but that's something that we really always strive for. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna leave our information for you. Please come up and talk to us afterwards. If you have any questions, you can email any of us personally. We will share whatever materials we can to help you get this started. They will be happy to speak with some of your teens. We actually have a couple of Alexis is going to go up to Pensacola and talk with the program up there because they've got some future teen ambassadors. So if you would like a Zoom call with one of them, maybe you've got 3 or 4 already that you've identified, we could even have them kind of coach or teach or volunteer or mentor up your teens, okay? We would love to do that, yes.
Sorry, how are you sharing stuff
Yeah.
with us? Do you want us to give you our information?
Give us our information just in case, but I think there's a way we can download everything afterwards in the app. Yes, there is, but if not, come up and give us your information, write it down on a Post-it so we can follow up with you, okay? Thank you guys so much.